What is going on? Surprise news out of the NFL Combine today that Bills' tenured defensive coordinator Leslie Frazier will be taking a step away from football in 2023 and will return in some capacity in 2024. I got my co-host in the building with me, James Mallory. What's going on, James?
Man, what's going on with you, man, JT? Man, I'm ready to talk that talk, man. What you trying to do? What's up?
Yeah, man, we're going to have to break this down and decipher this. And we got to, we don't know what's lies, what's the truth, what's actually going on. But tonight we're going to talk about Leslie Frazier taking the year off. Sean McDermott is running the defense currently, so we got to talk about what he's looking for. We got a couple clips from you guys tonight, too, from I Am Athlete, Brandon Marshall's reaction. We have clips from Sean McDermott's reactions from the NFL draft combine, and a little word from Brandon Beane. But weird day in Buffalo today at the end of February, something unexpected. Leslie Frazier taking the year off. But you know who's not taking the year off? Us. And we'll be right back. Yes, we are back. Yeah, James, we got a lot to decipher on this Leslie Frazier thing because there's a lot of questions of how we got here, why we got here, and more importantly, why this time period.
Yeah.
This is something that you normally see in the first week, maybe second week of the leading to after the season ends. This is coming a little late, but I talked to you earlier about this. I want to get your opinion. I know you believe that this is something that was already in the works. It's out the blue to the public, but it ain't out the blue at One Bills Drive.
Yeah. So me personally, I think this is something that probably has been brewing, has been discussed. For whatever reason, he's stepping away. Let's hope that he's healthy.
Yeah.
Let's hope that everything is going well on his end because people think about it from a football aspect. It's a human aspect to it too, right? Let's hope that he's healthy and everything's okay with him, number one, right? But just talking from a football aspect, the Bills are usually not caught off guard. They're very strategic on how they move and how they do things.
Right.
They're always a step or two ahead. This regime is. So to me, it's something there. Was he actually take maybe a reduced defense coordinator role? Was he expected to allow some of his assistants to have more input when it came down to game day decisions? Did they want to tweak some certain things that he maybe didn't feel comfortable with? We don't know. It's all speculation. I think that they were aware of this. The timing is kind of funky too. Combine, right during the combine. Me personally, I think they already knew something was happening.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, from a personal standpoint, I agree with you. Let's hopefully that, he's healthy, everybody in his family healthy. Reiterate what you said.
Yep.
Somehow, some way, this does not seem to have that type of feel to it. To me, it almost feels like, and somebody put it on social media. I don't remember who put it. They were like, "This is a nice way of saying you're fired, but you've done so much for us and we respect you so much. We're gonna let you save face." It's almost like having an employee and instead of firing him, you let them resign in a way.
Yeah.
Right? This is something that many of fans called for after the Bills exit from the playoff versus the Bengals this year. And to be honest with you, I'm not necessarily for it. If Sean McDermott's going to call the defense, then we're going to talk about that. I'm not totally against it necessarily, because if this is your defense that you're going to run, because we realize that the 4-2-5 is not a defense that Leslie Frazier ran in any of his tenures as a defensive coordinator. And we do realize that this defense was nowhere near aggressive as Leslie Frazier used to run his defenses, whether it was Minnesota, Cincinnati, or other stops along the way. If McDermott's going to run it, then fine. I'm okay with this move, whatever. But I still believe that the spotlight from the Bills' playoff exit again is being put on the defense when this offense was completely atrocious for the better part of the second half of the season. It was inconsistent. It was a lame duck offense, and the much hated Jerry Sullivan said so as much, and he was absolutely 100% right, even though he was out of line with his comment. But either way, we're going to talk about the defense. The offense we'll get to later this week. Why now? I think that's the question everybody really wants answered. Why now? I go back to your point where maybe you said that maybe they gave him an option to mull on it.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a situation where they're like, hey, we maybe they're taking something away from them. You still got the defensive coordinator. There's defensive coordinators and there's offensive coordinators who don't have complete control of the offense or defense in the NFL. Right. Maybe it was going to a situation like that.
Could be.
Who knows? Where he's maybe more of a run game coordinator than a defensive coordinator or a pass game coordinator instead of a defensive coordinator. We never know. It could have been a situation like, hey, let us know what you think about it. Take some time to think about it. Take all the time you need. Let us know.
Yeah, I mean, it's just interesting. Like I said, it's interesting. And before we go too far, I actually want to play the. Actually, no, we'll keep talking right now. I want to play the clip from Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane pretty soon here. Brandon Marshall from I Am Athlete had this to say, a former NFL receiver. He pretty much said it's over for the Bills, and this was his explanation when it came to the topic of Leslie Frazier and him stepping away football from a year.
It's over for Buffalo. It's over. Telling you.
Yeah.
That defense, nice. It's the coach.
Yeah.
You can keep his scheme, but you can't keep his leadership. Yo, let me go talk to this player like this. Let me go meet this one where they're at. Let me go challenge this one. Let me cut this one. What you doing? So you can keep his scheme. But he ain't there.
Yeah.
So I get what he's saying. From a player standpoint, you got to break this down.
All right. For me, there's one thing that when people talk, fans talk, I understand where Brandon Marshall coming from the leadership and him being there. When you look at your leader, you got a guy that's battle tested on the field and coaching. Man has a Super Bowl ring, right or wrong, as a player.
Yes.
You look at him like, yo, he's certified. He was a baller. He been in the trenches. He understands what it's like to go through what we're going through, right? Then from a coaching aspect, you look at him. He's been through it. He's been a head coach. He's had great defenses. He's coached great players, right? So you can go to him and say, what do I got to do to be like this guy? What do I got to do to be like this great player, right? So I get where Brandon Marshall's coming from with that. I do. But at the same time, to say it's over, I think that's a little ridiculous. Right. Because it's not like the talent just goes away, right? It works hand in hand. I mean, the leadership is something that people just don't talk enough about. People, I don't get why people were dogging him in the first place. That baffled me a little bit. As a defensive unit, we had the 13 seconds, but for the most part, they came to play, even when they were banged up. Let's not forget. Like at one point in time, we had 2 rookies starting this year at corner.
Yeah.
Our whole secondary was just backups at one point in time, and we were winning football games, JT. So you can't take that away. You can't say but this, but that. If you want to put the blame on them, you got to give them the credit as well. You can't just pick one end. Well, they were bad. It's his fault. Well, shoot. What about the time when they were good? When these young guys who had maybe 2 games of starting experience all combined was playing in that secondary, right? So I do get it. And he when he's saying that, he's talking about the leadership and the guy that you look up to, who's been in the trenches on the field and also been through as a coach. That's going to, I think that'll hurt a little bit, and we'll get more into it. That's why I think it's crucial you bring in somebody that's a strong leader who's going to be making that defensive call, and then also a strong leader on the field, which we'll get into.
So when it comes to Leslie Frazier, and I think I've said this before, right? Every fan base seems to have that one player or that one coach or something that's going to be your punching bag for the majority of the time period. You're waiting for something to go wrong to literally punch this dude over and over. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. No matter how many checkdowns that Josh Allen missed, no matter how many open receivers he missed, no matter how many games that he recklessly turned the ball over or knocked us out of field goal range, no matter how many times Stephon Diggs cried to get the football or Gabe Davis dropped it or we refused to run the football on offense, we always seem to somehow come back to Leslie Frazier being the punching bag.
Yep.
Doesn't matter if we knew that going into the Cincinnati game that we knew we had to score 30 to beat that team because we had a lead offense on the field and we only put up 10. Somehow he's still to blame for the Cincinnati Bengal loss. And that, like I said, I'm not gonna say I don't want to blame anybody because you win and you lose as a complete football team. I just feel that Leslie Frazier gets more blame than he got credit for running a top 5 consistent defense for the majority of his time in Buffalo. And we have to remember he ran a top 5 defense while Josh Allen was developing, which helped Josh Allen develop.
Absolutely.
Okay. It baffles me, man. It does, because I feel like the man is like ultimately extremely disrespected for the job he did. So are we going to judge him completely off because he didn't stop the Chiefs offense? Well, hell, nobody has in about 5 years. Okay.
Sure.
Are we going to judge him because he didn't stop the Bengals offense? Well, hell, nobody really did either. They went to Super Bowl last year and the Chiefs won this year. So if those are the games that we're going to rake him over the coals for, then fine, do that. But you better rake the other 30 defensive coordinators or 31 defensive coordinators over the coals too. Because guess what? The Chiefs couldn't stop the Eagles in the first half of the Super Bowl this year. And guess what? The Eagles couldn't stop the Chiefs in the second half. And those guys are getting jobs, head coaching jobs. And honestly, if Leslie Frazier was about 10 years younger, we probably would have lost him already to a head coaching position.
Absolutely.
He got hit with age biased a little bit. And that's really what happened to everybody's going younger in the trends. But neither here or there with that. That's just my personal feeling how Leslie Frazier was treated by a lot of Bills Mafia since he's been here. Ultimately, I disagree with Brandon Marshall about it's over. Like I said, could it be over real quick? Yeah, because think about it. We could possibly this offseason lose Leslie Frazier, which is a major leader in that locker room. Like, I've talked to plenty of players that says Coach Les is that guy. He's a mentor. He's a calming guy. He helps these young kids out, okay? And that's not just on the defensive side of the ball. That's also the offensive side of the ball, which can be very rare. That's how well respected he is, okay? But you could lose Leslie Frazier, you could lose Tremaine Edmunds, you could lose Jordan Poyer, and you could also be forced to trade Ed Oliver with the current cap situation. As they say, this ish could get ugly real quick.
Yeah, you got to go get leaders. Like right now, it's very important. You go get guys as strong leaders, because outside even Leslie Frazier, right? When you look at the Bills team, and I tell you all the time, like you don't got who's your goons on the defense.
You have any?
Who's your guys to get up in people's face like, hey, we here? Shaq Lawson, Jordan Phillips, maybe. Mm-hmm. But no, you need this to be a guy that's on the field a lot.
Right.
So that's when we'll get into that. That's why I think you'll see a lot more veteran guys that will sign. So that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Overall, how would you grade? Actually, before I even ask you that, do you think that he'll step foot in Buffalo again as next year, 2024? Or do you think this is just this is just a respectful formality, right?
Yeah, he can kind of reset. He get paid, reset. You know, it's just kind of figure out what the next move is.
Right. It just sucks, man, because like I said, I just feel like it's been completely unfair, and you know, this year he had to come up with a plan to play without Micah Hyde, to play around Jordan Poyer's injuries, and in the middle of a contract dispute for him. High-priced free agent Von Miller, your closer, he goes out. Jordan Phillips tears his rotator cuff. Greg Rousseau deals with a high ankle sprain.
Yeah,
for the majority of the season. AJ Epinesa gets hurt again. You know, Tim Settle gets hurt. It was a lot for him to deal with, and that defense still was consistent for the most part.
Absolutely.
You know, and even if you go back to that Dolphin game, their offense single-handedly almost gave that playoff game away to Miami. But if you look at the scoreboard, it's going to be indicative that it's on the defense once again. So I just think, like I said, man, he's been unfairly judged in his time here. I think he's been greatly underappreciated. And I don't remember franchises like Pittsburgh running guys like Dick LeBeau out. You know? So, like I said, be careful what you ask for. But one thing I do disagree with Brandon Marshall is...
LeBeau did leave and end up going to Tennessee.
Yeah. Yeah. But he left on his own accord. You know what I mean? You know, it's just, I don't know. The biggest thing for me is that I disagree with Brandon Marshall in the fact that it's not over for Buffalo. And I think the other factor is this was never Leslie Frazier's scheme.
Yeah.
This is Sean McDermott's scheme. So when he says, hey, you can run the scheme, but the coach ain't there, actually the coach is there. The brain trust in this 4-2-5 that they run, this cover 4, cover 3 that they run is Sean McDermott's. And now we're gonna switch gears and get into Sean McDermott. As far as him, corner Brandon Beane taking over currently right now as the play caller and the defense. We'll see how long. We'll see what happens. But this is what Sean McDermott had to say today. Next, I'm going to play Brandon Beane's first. I'm going to play Brandon Beane first because Brandon Beane was very interesting when he said what he had to say. So this is Brandon Beane today from the NFL Combine, and stating on possibly Sean McDermott being your defensive coordinator, play caller for this next season.
Yeah, I mean we've been talking about it internally between he and I, and some conversations, with ownership, on that. But yeah, we'll ultimately, Sean's still the head coach. We got to make sure he can cover the head coach duties. But we'll continue to talk about what that would look like, and we're going to make the best decision for us, and ultimately if he decides the best thing that he can do, the head coach, and you see that there's head coaches out there that call plays, so it would just be a modification of him if we go that route. Again, it's too early to say that that's definitely what we'd do, but we'll continue to look at it, and I know if that's the route we end up going, I got full faith that Sean would do a heck of a job.
Okay. He's putting it out there, right? It seems like he said this is something we talked about internally. This goes back to your point that this is something that wasn't just brought up this week.
If they talked about it, it's not one talk. they talked about it. I mean, there's been multiple conversations.
Yeah. Leading to when you think? When do you think these conversations possibly started? The week that the Super Bowl week before?
After the Super Bowl. Or after, no, excuse me, after they got knocked out. That next week, they had those conversations.
Mm-hmm.
You know, take a step back, tell them to take a step back, evaluate things. This is what we're thinking. I think that's what happened. They weren't going to fire him.
Too much respect for him.
Yep.
He's done way too much with a scheme that's not even his. He's meant way too much to a lot of players. Like I said, it's been a joy to be able to talk to a lot of players that I've talked to the last couple of years. And the first thing they say is how much they respect Coach Leslie Frazier.
Absolutely.
And it's not just it's not just in Buffalo, it's across the NFL. So, but neither here nor there. We'll see what happens with him next year, see where he ends up. I agree with you. I think that this was a formality to say, hey, listen, get paid through the year, take a year off if you want, reset, and we'll release you from your contract next year.
Yep.
All right. Sean McDermott.
And when you say ownership, that's where the money part comes in. If he does step away, will we still pay him? When he said ownership, even ownership, that's where the financial part comes in. They don't. Okay. That's where that comes in.
So they're paying him.
Yep.
All right.
In my opinion.
You're probably right. No, ain't nobody stepping away for free. we're not in that business. Stepping away for free. Okay. No. That ain't how this is gonna work.
Nope.
Sean McDermott possibly taking over the defense. I'm not gonna lie, man. Get me my feels a little bit. You know, I'm like, all right, you know. This is one of the reasons I respect this if he does this. We got all these people now. Because, you know, we like to retweet, you know. Yeah, I think sometimes buffoonery at times about defensive coaches not be able to win in this league anymore. Defensive head coaches not be able to win in this league anymore. When we saw Bill Belichick with a dominant quarterback, the greatest quarterback of all time, Tom Brady, dominate this league for the better part of 20 years.
Yep.
But that wasn't that long ago, but defensive coaches can't win this league. Well, let me think about this. Well, we have Sean McDermott. He was a pretty good defensive coordinator. Solid, right? Okay. And we have Josh Allen, who people say is an elite quarterback, right into Pat Mahomes, even though we never give him any accountability or blame for anything. But he's that good. Oh, James, looks like that maybe this mesh could be similar to Bill Belichick and Tom Brady, possibly. I don't know. Good defensive mind, elite quarterback, spending some money on offense. I don't know. Hell, what do I know? Maybe. But either way, the reason I like this is because if he does this, he's pretty much telling you, okay, you're going to say defensive coaches can't win Super Bowls in this league? Give me the play sheet. Give me the game plan. Zach Taylor, it's me and you. Andy Reid, it's me and you. We about to go play for play. We're going to match wits. I'm not handing this down to nobody. If I'm going to go down with the ship, and I'll be honest with you, this move, and I'm going to ask you about this. This move may seem like his seat may be getting heated up a little bit. I don't know. It's possible. What you thinking on this, man?
I don't think that's the case. I don't think the Pagulas will ever get rid of him unless it's just bad. What I think is like, and I look at it from a coaching aspect, like, listen, nobody gonna run my defense like me. It could feel like that for him at times.
Okay.
Like, hey man, listen, let me do this, man. Let me bake this cake. You know what I'm saying? So he probably thinking that, but I don't think he's gonna have his input. I think somebody else will ultimately call it.
Who you picking right now? If you had to hand pick one of those dudes, because I think that they've pretty much signified they ain't going outside. And there's no one that's not within these doors right now that's going to be calling these plays next year if it ain't Sean McDermott. I don't think you
can at this point in time, because it's like, if that's the case, that means you're going to change up some things on defense and your whole scouting process changes, right? Like who you looking at the combine, what you're looking at the combine, what you're looking at or what you're looking for in free agency. because you're looking for different type of players that fit different type of schemes, that fit different kind of needs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think you can do that right now. I think you know it's going to look similar, more blitzing and just more just different looks, you know. So I think will be going on. So
you got 5 names that I think that didn't enter today. I think it was Bob Babbage, Eric Washington, Al Holcomb, the new guy they just brought in, and I think maybe it was 4 names. I forgot the 4th name that it was.
Eric Washington. Me, if I had to pick one, I would say Eric Washington probably would call him.
Okay, I'm gonna go Al Holcomb though. And like I said, I remember a couple years ago when McDermott took this job that Al Holcomb's name came up as a possible candidate for DC. And he did a pretty decent job in Carolina. And obviously, when McDermott left Carolina, they never really changed schemes much. I think Eric Washington needs to worry about the developing that defensive line. Because we just saw Joe Salgado go and Chad Hall go. Okay, I don't think Eric Washington needs to be worried about calling any plays right now. He needs to be finding a way to get these young 2nd round picks and 1st round picks we got across that D line.
Yeah.
To get 7 to 8 sacks each. Or he's gonna be the next one to go. Straight up. I mean, hey, listen, man.
This could be his last year.
Playtime is over.
Yeah.
People getting fired now. Okay? Like I said, I don't know. I mean, maybe the Pagulas won't. Maybe they won't fire McDermott. But, man, if you look at any of their history from the Sabres side of things, that seat with the Pagulas can get hot real quick.
The only reason why I say that, the Sabres never was division champions and in the position the Bills are.
No, you're right. But look how the fans are acting. Okay? Look how Bills Mafia is acting. This team was bad for 20 years. And just to make the playoffs. That's all they wanted. Now you have a team that literally can go to the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl, even though they've come short. And we want everybody fired. I ain't saying Terry Pagula is just like that. But I ain't saying he necessarily not either.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah. Yeah, I'm just saying, man. Rich people do some weird things.
That is very true.
Okay? So, all I'm saying is Cody Wells asked by chance, I know Sean's a great coach and defensive mind, but how was the defense of Carolina under him? It was similar to the one in Buffalo, literally. I just think they had more, as you call it, more dogs on the pass rush.
Yeah.
Because you had Mario Addison, who was younger at the time. I mean, a young Mario Addison was 11 sacks a year.
You had JP.
You had Julius Peppers. You had Coney Ely. And I forgot who they had inside. But, no, they had some.
Star was there. And
Yes,
then they had what's the other guy name? He was the second round pick. He was picked after Star, but ended up being better.
I can see him. I can't think of his name. But we had a Star Latulia that actually cared about playing football.
Yes.
In Carolina. So, like I said, it was very similar to Buffalo. The biggest difference with that Carolina team was they did not have the secondary that Buffalo had, but they had Luke Kuechly.
They had Josh Norman, though.
Yeah, but except that was all they had in the secondary was Josh Norman. But Luke Kuechly was, he was godly, man. Kawan Short, thank you, Eric Humphrey. That's who it was. Thank you, Kawan Short. Yep. Thank you, I appreciate it, brother. That's exactly who it was. I could see his face, I just couldn't think of his name. So, yeah, I mean, but then at the same time, when Sean McDermott had to run an aggressive blitz defense in Philly, he got fired. I just want to bring that up. That defense in Carolina was not very aggressive. It was actually less aggressive than Buffalo, in my opinion. They didn't blitz. They still ran the platoon defensive line.
I'm fine with playing the defense we play. I don't need a super aggressive defense because with that, you give up. You susceptible to give up huge plays. I'm not a fan of the aggressive defense, me personally.
Right. Because we hold teams inside the 20, 25-yard line very well.
Yeah.
And that field gets cadets. But listen, this is what Sean McDermott had to say about this. And I want you to read his body language. Have you seen the clip today when he was talking about this?
I have not.
Okay, so I want you to read his body language. To me, it like, man, he's kind of chomping at the bit a little bit. This is what Sean McDermott had to say today about the situation.
Sean, about the defense, whether Leslie was going to come back or whatever role it is there something different you want to see, whether it's philosophically or the way you execute from your defense next year?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's always things you want to improve. I think the biggest thing for us is, playing good team defense, which we've played for a number of years, and I thought Leslie did a good job with that. And now it's, hey, how can we improve? How can we take another step or two as a defense? And I think a piece of that is a nasty edge to our defense. And most defenses that are really good have that edge.
What did I tell you? Dogs. I've been saying dogs.
Yeah.
And I didn't even see that yet. I've been saying that for the longest. We don't have that. That don't mean you're not a good football player. We don't have that. Dudes getting it. We don't have that. That's what they're going. I'm telling y'all now. They're going to get dudes with attitude. That's going to get after it.
Mm-hmm. I've been saying. I remember I used to mess with Mud Dog with this, man. I've been saying it for 3 to 4 years. There's 3 parts that you have to a Super Bowl winning team. Okay? You got to have your high character guys, your leaders, your Micah Hydes, your Jordan Poyers, your Matt Milanos, right? Your Josh Allens. Then you got to have your tweeners, the guys that they're a good character, but they could be a little nutty, they could be a little emotional. That's your Stephon Diggs guys, right? But the third piece we don't have. You got to have your crazy. Just kind of loopy in the head, not all there. Your Charles Haley's. Okay? Your Frank Clarks. Those type of guys that's the type of guys that James are talking about. He said you got to have dogs, you have the guys that they don't have no common sense. You may not even invite them to the team dinner because they may punch your mother in the face. No, seriously.
That's why last year, if you remember, why I wanted us to go get Randy Gregory.
Yep, that is why you wanted Randy Gregory.
Yep.
You got to have crazy people because not only are you scared of them in practice, they scared of the team. They make them nervous. They're on edge. You don't know what this guy is going to do. And that's the part that Buffalo has been missing since they came here. I love what they built with the high character guys because you have to, don't get me wrong, you can't bring those crazy guys in before your team, your culture is built. You can't bring them in beforehand. That will go south like Bruce Irvin. Bruce Irvin's one of those guys. You can't bring a Bruce Irvin in or something like that before your culture is built. But now that it is built and it's set in stone, you have your leaders. You have your leader on offense. You have a leader on defense. You got to bring him in. As my man Rob Robertson just said, you got to have a few guys that aren't process guys. Correct. Because the process has already been done. You're there now. Now we need a couple guys. But this is how what Kansas City has done in the past to separate themselves. They've taken guys who aren't high character, but good football players.
Carlos Dunlap, he has some issues.
Yeah. Carlos Dunlap, Kadarius Toney, even Tyrann Mathieu.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Willie Gay. Willie Gay's crazy as all hell. He is. Willie Gay is crazy as all hell. And guess what? They have Nick Bolton as the high character guy. The IQ guy is going to carry everything out. And Willie Gay is just the nutty one. We don't have that. And that's what's separating them. Like the Eagles, Fletcher Cox ain't necessarily a high character guy, man. You go look up Fletcher Cox for the things he did. He's not high character. Gardner Johnson. He wasn't a high character guy either necessarily. He done got punched more times than I've seen him on the football field because of things he's done. So you have to have these type of guys. So and I think this draft process may be the most different draft process that you've seen since McDermott and Beane have got here. Those guys that they would take the name and throw them right off the draft board may be right at the top of the damn draft board this year.
I think they'll take a swing on one, maybe two. But
maybe
more than that, nah.
No. You can't bring too many at one time. And it's like a daycare. You can't have too many badass kids running around, or you can't keep up with them all.
You can't have too many Tommy Pickles.
Tommy Pickles wasn't bad, man.
Tommy Pickles was the turn-up specialist, man. He was the, you know what I mean? You gotta have some Chuckies there.
Yeah, that's the problem. We've had too many Chuckies. We've had too many Chuckies, man. We got Phil, Lil, and Chuckies, man. We need some Tommy Pickles. You're right. Fine, I give you that one. So, no, man. Like I said, I'm okay with this, and it kind of excites me a little bit because he's done playing games. It seems to me, his body language to me said no more. And even if he's not calling the plays, if Al Holcomb or Bob Babbage or one of these guys are calling plays next year, his input is going to be so much more than what it was. Because if you guys don't know what his input was this season, it was pretty much him and Leslie Frazier sat down every week and they installed the game plan together. But Leslie Frazier called the plays. McDermott kind of stayed off of that, the play calling during the games. He's going to have more input this year for sure. Yeah. And like I said, I don't know for sure if he's on the hot seat. I don't think any of us knows. We haven't heard from the Pagulas in months, really, or a year. But if he feels his seat is getting warm, he's gonna go out swinging, and that's the type of guy that I'll fight for.
I don't think his seat is warm at all. I think it's cold. It's cold as ice. But what I think you might want to say is there's a sense of urgency in the organization.
Okay,
we want to win. I think the seat is cold as ice. I don't think it's even somewhat warm, right? I think it's a sense of urgency. There's urgency to win. Super Bowl. It's urgency.
Mm-hmm. So I said I'm all for it. If this is what they feel is going to take this team to the next step, fine. Like I said, I there hasn't been an off season yet that outside of their first true off season where they were purposely tanking, okay, to get their quarterback. There hasn't been an off season yet that Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane have not attempted to attack their flaws. So why people would sit back now and say, oh, they're not going to do anything about this, they're not going to do anything about that. When have they ever sat back and not done something about something they felt was flawed?
Yeah.
When? I mean, I'm not saying they've always made the right moves. I'm not saying they've already brought in the right players, but they've never sat back. If they needed a running back, they went and drafted two. They needed receivers, they went and traded for Diggs. You signed Beasley, you signed Brown. You drafted Gabe Davis. If you needed a tight end, you trade up, you got Dawson Knox. When have they ever sat back?
Yeah.
So why do we think they're just gonna sit back and just say
they're not gonna let everybody just surpass them? They say, oh, we got cap issues. Bye. Good luck.
Right.
No.
They've never done that. Like I said, they missed on some of the Mario Addisons, the Trent Murphys, and things of that such. I ain't gonna say they got everything right, but they damn sure tried to get it right. That stands for something. Okay? Last year they said they needed a pass rush. They went and got Von Miller for $120 million. Was it risky as hell at his age? Absolutely. Is it still risky? Yeah. We can lose this Von Miller signing very badly, because if this does not work out, Von Miller can possibly cost us Tremaine Edmunds, Jordan Poyer, and Ed Oliver, just because of the money we allocated to it. That's just being realistic about it. I'm not blaming it. If I had to go back and do it again, I'm going to do it again, though. But I'm just saying, yeah, this is risky. So, but either way, man, I mean, that's the situation there. And that brings us to our last topic of the night. I know we were supposed to do the offensive preview tonight, but obviously with all this happening, it just brought us back to defense. We're going to try to get on air one more time this week. We're going to try to do a 2-for this week.
Yes, sir.
Just do the offensive profile. And then I'm going to start reading some of these comments too. When we get towards the end here. Actually, I'll read real now. Timothy Lewis says we got to make some risky moves in the offseason, like trade Trey White for a first-round draft pick. Tim. No. That's too risky, man. Listen, I know a lot of people are looking at the cap space for Trey White and looking at the level that he played at, but we got to realize he's come back off a torn ACL and a torn PCL. So he wasn't going to be right this season anyway. But I don't think that in this NFL, especially when you're going in the AFC versus the Bengals and the Chiefs, don't go trading corners. I think we need to add 2 more corners somehow.
With that price we got him for,
yeah,
to even entertain let's just I just people got to realize a lot of people are in love with first round picks. More than 50% of first round picks are bust. It's a gamble, man. It's a gamble. More than 50% of first round picks are bust.
Yeah. And you may need Trey because at the end of the day, you may have to move Benford back to safety. That's something no one's talking about. Brandon Beane mentioned again today about drafting a player that was a versatile player that could play corner and safety and slot. He said we drafted one last year in Christian Benford. Another nugget again today.
Yeah.
Ray Cruz says, I saw a trade scenario involving Elam and picks for Ramsey. Thoughts? It's probably for one of those sham sites. Buffalo ain't got no cap space to bring Jalen Ramsey in. And
nor do I think you want him.
No, I don't think they want to deal with him, man. Like that's not the crazy I'm looking for. Like he's not crazy. He's just disruptive.
Yeah.
And as a Florida State Seminole fan, honestly, a huge Florida State, I'm disappointed. I'm very disappointed in dude's actions. He's not a leader. He's a me guy, and honestly, I can't stand him. But no, Tim says I don't trust the injury situation. May take him another year to get fully recovered. He was almost fully recovered by the end of the year. He looked better and better as the weeks going on. I mean, you think that Trey White's probably fully back now? Should be close to, right?
He's probably more confident right now than ever. He like, oh, I'm good.
Yeah. So let's see. Okay, so we want to talk about possible Tremaine Edmunds replacements in free agency.
Yep.
Now we both picked a guy tonight, a linebacker that the Bills possibly could sign that could possibly replace incumbent free agent Tremaine Edmunds, because as the time goes by, it seems to me that it's getting less and less likely that this is going to happen, in my opinion. Matter of fact, how do you think that this Leslie Frazier situation now affects Tremaine Edmunds? Does you think it has, or does it have any effect at all?
I think it does.
Okay.
Because when you really look at it, right,
Mm-hmm.
that was his guy. That was his guy. Leslie Frazier was a Tremaine Edmunds guy.
Mm-hmm.
Right. He's a fan. I don't think they're gonna sign him back. As I sit here and I think about it, honestly, JT, I just don't think they're gonna sign him back. I think it does impact. I think he was gone anyway.
Uh-huh.
Like the more every day that went by, I lost more and more faith. Right. So I just don't think they're gonna sign him back, especially with Leslie Frazier gone. They'll probably be like, you know what, we bring in another middle linebacker as well.
Yeah, I mean, and you know what? And that's nothing to think about it. Maybe that was just trying to broke the camel's back. Maybe he was informed of this. We're not bringing Edmunds back, and that's his guy.
I don't think they were connected, me personally. I think it was a situation where they offered Tremaine some money. Tremaine is going to get paid.
Oh, he's about to get paid handsomely.
And he deserves it. If you put his resume up on the screen and say, this guy is going to get $19 million a year, nobody, if they just look at the stats, will argue with it. Right. All analytical people and people that's on analytics. So that's me. I think he deserves it. Go get it.
Ray Cruz says it's getting up to close to $20 million for Edmund Deuces. I agree. I mean, at this point, you can't afford it. CR says McDermott wants his Luke Kuechly. You know what? I don't even think he wants the Kuechly. I think he's to the point where he realizes you're not going to find no Luke Kuechly.
Man, that's one of the best middle linebackers ever played football.
Yeah, I don't think. You know who I got to meet this weekend too? It was pretty cool. Jack Ham. Former Pittsburgh Steel linebacker. I had to meet Jack Ham. Before I get off, I actually want to give a shout out to the Legends and Stars. I had a great time at the Batavia Downs this weekend again. If I saw a couple of you people there, if anybody was in there, you saw me walking around there, doing fan interviews and stuff. But a lot of great people there this weekend. Got to meet the great Derek Coleman, the boxing champ Larry Holmes,
yeah,
Jerry Cooney, Ray Boom Boom Mancini, Got to talk to my guy Peerless Price, who I always wanted to meet, one of my favorites. I actually got to talk to Naeem Hines this weekend. I got to talk to him, chat to him for a second, and he said that all he needs is one off season, and he's ready to go with this team for sure. He'll be more into the playbook, more into the scheme. So, it was nice to see a lot of those guys. But like I said, shout out to Brian Burke and Legends of Stars, and those guys had a great time again, and I can't wait to the season schedule come out and the Bills bye week, and they're going to do it again. But yeah, no. So my guy tonight for possible Tremaine Edmunds replacement was a guy I watched play last couple years. It's actually an interesting pick, I think. Very underrated pick, but he's going to get coveted on the market, not as coveted as Tremaine. I picked Jermaine Pratt from the Bengals. And the reason I picked Tremaine is athletically wise, he's one of the linebackers that can match up athletically with Tremaine Edmunds. Obviously, he's not 6'6", 255, but he is 6'2", 245. He still runs a 4.57 where Tremaine runs a 4.54. This is a guy who, in his work stints with Cincinnati, played extremely well. To the point where they had to put him on the football field because he was just a backup to Logan Wilson before Wilson got hurt a few times. But last season alone, 99 tackles, 4.8% missed tackle rate. Obviously, we know Tremaine Edmunds had a 1% missed tackle rate. Yep. My biggest thing was his pass coverage. He was targeted 40 times last year. Only he had 25 receptions. But the QB rating when targeting him was 62.1. The guy can cover. He can run. I think that would add a different dynamic. Another guy I would look at, like I said, there's other linebackers too, like Deion Jones, Levante David. But I want to get to your guy, who you think and why you think that guy should replace Tremaine Edmunds.
I'm going to go with Bobby Wagner.
All right.
Bobby Wagner on a 2-year deal. Mm-hmm. I think you 2-year deal. You draft a guy, or if Spector is a guy that you want to groom and bring along slowly. I think Bobby Wagner will be the perfect person. And then also we talk leadership. You get that leader in your locker room. You get that dog in the locker room. You get that all-pro in the locker room. A guy that knows how to get the job done. You can bring that guy along. I think he'll boost this defense. Right now, I think he's a better player than Tremaine Edmunds. So you actually upgrade at the position. And, short term, I think it's a 2-year deal. And I think he could bring a lot of value there. Think about him and Von Miller, the leadership that's in that. You could talk about two of the all-time greats at their positions on the defense at the same time. That could still ball. I think that's.
To the truth, I didn't know Bobby Wagner was an All-Pro last year.
Yeah.
I had no idea he was an All-Pro. I went and looked at his numbers, and actually I got him up right here. Just last year alone, Bobby had 140 tackles, 10 tackles for loss, 10 QB hits, 6 sacks, and added 2 interceptions. So, Bobby's still playing at a high level. I think that a lot of people thought he was done. And obviously, we know with the Rams, he asked for his release.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think he see the writing on the wall. He's 32 years old. The Rams are headed towards a full rebuild. He doesn't want to be a part of that. Bobby Wagner wants to compete for championships, which is why he was released by the Rams. It was not that the Rams were releasing the cut bait or thinking he wasn't well. He asked for his release, and they granted it to him. He sees the writing on the wall and what direction they're headed in, and he's most likely on side with contender. And if Tremaine Edmunds is not going to remain here, obviously Buffalo would have to be an option for him. This definitely be a home that he look at. A couple more options. Buccaneers, Levante David. Obviously, we know Levante David is a solid linebacker.
Yep. Still
be more of a short-term deal. He's 33 years old. I think that we have to be a little bit careful with the short-term deals, just the simple fact that those are going to have a bigger cap hit. A guy like Jermaine Pratt, the reason I picked Pratt is he's 26. You probably can get him on a 4-year deal for like $44 million. But the point is, with the 4 years on the deal, you can backload the contract where the cap hit is kind of minimal for the first year to kind of help us with the cap space in this offseason. Where if you get B-Wags for 2 years, It's similar. They just did. I believe they just did it with Daquan Jones. But you can add a third year that's just a void year to take like $2 or $3 million off the front end and put it to the back, and it'll just be like a cap penalty for that third year down the line. Some more names on this list that would be interesting to bring in. Deion Jones. Don't know what he has. He wasn't healthy all last year. We talked about Devin Bush last week. That's a very intriguing name.
Definitely.
Sport Track is projected him in at a 1 year, $3 million deal, prove it deal, pretty much, for a former top 20 pick. So he's very intriguing to me. I think we talked about him last week. Azeez Al-Ashar from the 49ers played very well in mop-up duty. A guy who they said, I believe that Fred Warner said, should man a defense, and that's why he needs to leave to get his own opportunity. And then there's more names like, Corey Littleton, guys who've been starters, Leighton Vander Esch, who I'm not a fan of, TJ Edwards from the Eagles. So if, as we talked about it before, James, and you said before the show, if there's going to be a year that you're going to replace a middle linebacker like Tremaine Edmunds, this is absolutely the year, because I'm not into bringing a rookie in. I'm just not. I'm not into bringing a rookie in to man a possible Super Bowl contender on defense. I'm just not into it. I don't want to be. I don't have any parts of that. And I'm not saying someone can't be special, but I don't think that's the position where if you may lose your all-pro safety and you don't know when your best pass rusher is going to be healthy next year, that you want to have bumps in the road with that. Especially in a division where the Jets may land Aaron Rodgers or a Derek Carr or Garoppolo. The Patriots get a receiver and maybe Mac Jones is a lot different. And you still got that high-speed, high-volume Dolphins offense. I don't think that's something you want to play with that middle linebacker.
Yeah.
We do have the money. You guys got to stop saying we don't have the money for Bobby Wagner. We have the money. We can free up any amount of cap space we really want if we really
And
want.
who was that to say keep kicking a can down the road? That's why we're in the money trouble we're in. No, we're in the money trouble we're in because we have to pay good players. You can't just keep getting good players for peanuts. Good players cost.
Right. Like, the thing is, man, we're with the draft capital. We're $24 million in the hole if you add the draft, okay? Listen, Josh Allen restructures $21 million in just that alone. Now you're $10 million from Von Miller, and I'm going to do this very quickly. Now you're at plus $7 million, right? Well, let's just say you want to trade Mitch Morse or cut him, whatever you want to do. That's another 8.3. Now we're up to what, like 15 million? Well, let's just say, we're going to go with two bigger guys in the middle. We're going to trade Ed Oliver for a draft pick to get another interior lineman or cornerback or whatever you want to get, receiver. Well, there's another $10 million. Now we're up to 25. It's not difficult. By the way, let's extend Naeem Hines 1 year. Let's take another $2 million off. Add another $2 or $3 million.
They're going to cut McKenzie too.
Yeah, that was my next point. $28 million. Now you cut Isaiah McKenzie up to $30 million. That's more than enough money to get these guys in. And like I said, it's the cap space is not always about how much money you have. It's about how you structure the contract. I wanted to take you guys back a couple years ago when the Kansas City Chiefs had negative $100 going into free agency, and they were able to trade for Orlando Brown. They were able to sign Joe Thuney, and I think they got Frank Clark as well. It's just about structuring the contracts. I'm sorry, they didn't get Frank Clark. They signed Chris Jones to a long-term deal.
Yeah.
It's not about how much you have. It's simply about how you structure it. Like Brandon Beane said last year, the salary cap is a myth. As long as you don't get to the point where the New Orleans Saints is, where you're negative 80 million and you literally can't do anything. And they even found a way to get out of negative 100 last year.
Yeah.
And signed Jarvis Landry and Tyrann Mathieu. So it's not an issue. Trust me. And the Bills are not in salary cap hell long term. It's just short term because you added Josh Allen's extension kicking in and Von Miller kicked in at the same time.
And Stephon Diggs.
And Diggs, yes. That's why. Very easily to create the cap space. Hold on. So I'm answer a couple questions here. So you think they're going to try to retain Poyer if they let Edmunds walk or let them both walk? Again, sorry if I missed it. No, you didn't miss anything. I think Poyer's gone.
Yeah, I think they both gone.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that if you would have asked me halfway during the season, I would have said Edmunds reflected Poyer, but even if Edmunds is not back, I think he's gone. I think they're going to try to go younger, get more athletic, or you're going to simply slide Benford back to safety.
Jabril Peppers, and then draft somebody in the first 2 rounds of safety.
Yeah.
You cannot keep going through without drafting a safety high. We have not drafted a safety high. First 2 rounds, they're going to draft a safety. You have to.
Yeah, I agree with that. Let's see, what other question we got? Cody Will says the Caps should adjust this rate too. I heard that's going up by $20 million this year, or maybe it's already adjusted. It went up. It went up from 209 to 224 this year. It's going to go up then over the next 2 years again because of the new TV the new TV deal money that will be kicking in. So you're probably going to raise the cap possibly up to $30 to $40 million for the next 2 seasons, which is why the Bills are front loading these contracts now. Because on the back end, their contracts.
Well, it was one of the years that they projected to have some ridiculous amount of money.
2025, 2026.
25. I think it's 25.
Yeah.
One that's had a new stadium or 26.
Mm-hmm. So it's lined up with everything. They know what they're doing with the cap space. We got a billionaire owner that can make a difference by signing checks like he did, signing bonuses, but it's a contract. Yeah. I mean, like I said, it's not a problem. The salary cap's not going to be an issue. Kyle Yeager says Poyer is gone. I totally agree. I think that it's over. Our guy Joseph says cash over cap. Absolutely. Absolutely. Cash over. That should go on a t-shirt. Cash over cap. Absolutely. Let's see. Is there any more questions? I want to make sure I get the people comments and questions. We got Rob Robertson says, I think it shows how far the Bills and Edmunds are off, and it honestly sucks. It does. But this is the nature of the business, unfortunately. But yeah. Any final thoughts tonight, James?
Yeah, it sucks losing Leslie Frazier, but hey, we will be fine. We'll be all good. It's gonna be interesting to see who we sign. So I'm excited to see what happens with free agency. That's gonna be coming up here in about 2 weeks. Because it's what, the 12th? It opens up 13th. They can start talking.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
they had that draft, so they're already talking at that draft. That's where the business is going.
Combine, absolutely.
And that's where our business is going.
It'll be interesting. So we're gonna see. We're gonna see, but we good. We good. Don't even trip.
Ray Cruz says signs a contract to put a dome in the stadium, pay up. That ain't happening. James brought up a good point to me on the phone yesterday. He said, do you think that maybe Buffalo done put a dome in because that the snow and the weather actually may mess it up at some point? And I said, damn, I didn't even think of that.
Possible.
I didn't think about that.
I'm not a contractor or anything like that. So,
but I will tell you, to put a dome on was $1.2 billion more than what the cost already is. I will say that. Yeah, you're right, Cody. It was Minnesota. That was the old school dome that they had.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so if you guys are wondering about the stadium dome, it was $1.2 billion. So my final thought is, yeah, man, it hurt Susan, Coach Leslie Frazier, but I'm still excited. And I'm a little nervous because I don't know what this defense is going to look like, I don't know what a Buffalo Bills defense will look like without Tremaine Edmunds, Leslie Frazier, and Jordan Poyer. It's a little nerve-wracking. That's a lot to lose. Yeah. And if you don't think it's a lot to lose, you're kidding yourself.
It is.
They're
going to get leaders. Everybody that they sign is going to be a leader. Why?
Yeah. Yeah.
You're going to get strong leadership.
Yeah. So, I guess my final thoughts tonight, I just want to say, if this is Coach Leslie Frazier's last, if he coached his last game in Buffalo as DC or anything, I do want to say thank you for being part of this organization and bringing, not just, it goes further than X's and O's. For me, it's being a mentor for young men. Playing in the league where they're making millions of dollars, a lot more than he made when he played at that age, and letting these young men live through him in a way. Because I think that we lose sense of what coaching is all about. And I know it's hard at the NFL level. It's a business, it's a profession. You know what I mean? But it's still about raising young men to be fathers and grandfathers and passing down generational knowledge and role models and being a role model overall. And I think that when you talk about coaches in the NFL that exemplify that, Leslie Frazier is one of those guys. A man of character, a man of courage, and a man of values. Like I said, it's hard to gain respect of, in this world, young men. They're 20, 22, 23 years old because they don't seem to have respect for hardly anything sometimes. But it's even harder to gain respect across the NFL. And that's what he's done. So like I said, if this is his last time coaching the Buffalo, I just personally want to say thank you.
Absolutely.
You know, I don't care about how many yards was given up in the playoffs over the last 3 years. That doesn't matter to me right now. What matters is that he led the way for a bunch of young men that a lot come from broken homes, broken cities, inner cities. Not the best education, not the best everything. You know, you got to realize where a lot of NFL players come from.
Yeah.
So, like I said, hats off to Coach Les. Job well done. If he needs the year off, just need a year off, you deserve it. Take your time. You come back, if it ain't Buffalo, doesn't matter where you go. I'll be rooting for you. No matter where he is. As long as they ain't AFC East, I'll be rooting for him. Okay. So, but yeah, man. We're gonna come back. Like I said, tonight originally we told you guys last week we're gonna do the offensive offseason preview. But all this happened, we had to come back to the defense. So we're gonna try to get back on air this week. And stay tuned. We're gonna be releasing all our it's nothing personal. I don't know what you call it, brand pages and follow. So we're gonna have you guys follow like our YouTube page and stuff like that. Like I will still be with Cold Front and stuff like that, but we want to kind of compartmentalize it and have it where it's just our stuff on that page, because I think we're going to be doing a lot more content and just our own personal thoughts and stuff. So just stay tuned for that. But as always, guys, thank you guys for tuning in. And as always, go Bills, and we'll probably see you again this week. 2 days. All right, fellas. Catch y'all later. Peace.